Hello, this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. And on today's show, we are going to be talking about everything involving Harris County and Houston, Texas. And it is quite a circus in the Commissioner's Court in Harris County. And we're going to get into each and every part of that issue. It is some wild times there. And so we have a lot to talk about. And on today's show, we have two guests that are very well qualified to talk about those things. They live in Harris County, and they're deeply involved in those issues and trying to do the right thing to correct things and put us back to a state of sanity in Harris County, back to the traditions, the longstanding traditions of fiscal budgets being met, our numbers being met, and our streets being safe, our potholes being fixed, and take our city of Houston, Harris County, back to, the way it was at one time, the way it was when in earlier generations, when it was a nice place to go for a walk in the park, safe, decent, and good for families. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. And on today's show, we have two guests. First, we have a candidate for Harris County Commissioner Court Precinct 2, Richard Vega, correct?
Hey, yes, sir.
Great.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. It's good. And it's good to see you, and thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Chris.
And we have the Harris County Republican Party Chairperson, Cindy Siegel. Cindy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Chris. It's good to be back.
It's good to have you back. We had a great show last time you were on, so I think we're gonna have a great show this time as well. So first thing I'd like to do is start off with Richard, and Richard is running for one of these seats in Harris County Precinct 2, with the intention of restoring our communities back to what they once were. So with that being said, Richard, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a pastor. I'm a husband, a father. I love my community. I love people. I'm also a veteran and a community activist. I spent the last probably year and a half auditing school districts, removing pornography out of schools, working with legislators to get laws passed to make sure that we protect women and children. Just recently testified at the Capitol to be able to stop biological men from using women's restrooms. And I'll just make it this simple. Women have come a long ways in America. They had to fight for education. They had to fight to vote. They had to fight for jobs. And now in 2025, we're having to defend them for their privacy in restrooms. It's pretty sad that we even have to make a bill for that, but that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a state of lawlessness under the Democrat ruling party. It's madness. It's insanity. We cannot exist going down this road. So it's up to each and every person in our communities to take an active stance in this and start taking part of their day to restore our communities to what they once were. Richard, I think I know where I met you or where I remember seeing you before. It was at the Fort Bend County. David Hamilton, the Fort Bend County school board trustee at that time, was making quite an issue out of the pornography in the Fort Bend County schools. And he made such an issue of it. Of course, he's trying to expose it. He's doing the right thing. That it became an issue at the school board meeting where everyone showed up and read from the books to show what kind of just undescribable, disgusting material was in our school books. Were you there at that one?
Yeah. Somebody filmed me. It wasn't me. And somebody sent me the video that I read, and they said, "Hey, man, you did a good job." I was like, "Cool." He's like, "Is this your video?" I said, "No." He goes, "Well, you might want to start filming yourself." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because this got over 5 million views, and somebody's making money off your testimony." But that was there in Fort Bend, and we were able to expose the pornography.
It's funny. Whenever we attempt to expose their illicit agenda, what they do is when we're reading this stuff, they attack us for reading this stuff.
Yeah.
But they don't attack the fact that these books are in our schools being taught to our children. Yeah. And so it's deceitful what they're doing. Yeah. And I think that, it cannot last. It's not good. So with that being said, why don't we start off with you again, Richard? Tell us about the state of your campaign for Harris County Precinct 2 Chair Commissioner.
Yeah, so we know right now that the Commissioner's Court has just done a horrific job. They have not represented the people well at all. They have literally drove our county into a massive deficit and want to put the bill or the burden on the everyday average person. We have seen our county go from doing great things to now struggling in every way. I mean, just look at the roads. I mean, as I'm out there campaigning, being able to see the ditches that still need to be completed for infrastructure issues because of flooding is just sad. And then we see the commissioner's court just recently, the so-called commissioner that's currently holding that seat, put on the agenda to give away almost $500,000 for a softball game. I mean, it's stupidity that's going on up there that's not for the people. And so we're hitting the ground. We're connecting with all the grassroots. We're hearing the stories from different people and the concerns from everyone. And we feel we're coming out very strong, and we're going to represent the people well.
Good, excellent. That's great. Yeah, it's absurd. So let's start off with that. The state of taxation and spending in Harris County. Recently, Harris County, they raised taxes. Is that correct?
Last year.
Okay, tell us about that.
There's a loophole. You know, the state legislature had put a cap on it, but they went and used the loophole, which said that if they could raise it because there was emergency response related to an emergency. And they weren't the only ones, and the legislature has closed that loophole. But they raised the property taxes over 10% without even having to take it back to the voters because of this loophole. And it's going for things like Lena Hidalgo's favorite program. It was going for her pre-K program. It's going for the enormous salaries that their staff are getting. That, you know, when the average person out in Harris County is struggling to make a living. It wasn't going for the constables. It wasn't going for safety because she didn't want to pay for the constables. And I will point out, she's willing to spend, I think it was $900,000 for her own security people. She wasn't using the constables. It's private security. So their priorities are very skewed, and it's the taxpayers and the voters in Harris County that are paying for it.
I believe I heard that they raised taxes as much as 18%. Does that sound correct?
Well, I think when you factor in all the other parts of Harris County, the hospital authority, the flood control, it's well over that amount.
So when we're in a time of, coming off the Joe Biden economy, when inflation is through the roof, they go, when our senior citizens are on fixed incomes, they raise property taxes by 18%.
Yeah.
Potentially 18%.
Without a vote.
Without a vote. So usually to raise it that high, they'd have to take it to the people. And what they did was they took advantage of people in the most vulnerable state. You got to remember what Chairwoman said is that they had to do this because they knew it wouldn't get passed by the people. They had to take it to a vote. What they did was wait for our governor to declare a state of emergency, and then they went around and said, you know what, we're going to tax you out. We're going to max you out. We're gonna put the highest tax on you. We're recovering from a hurricane at this point. We don't even know what's going on.
Hurricane Barrel's what the
Hurricane Barrel. Yeah. They took advantage of it. That's a hard issue, man.
Mm-hmm.
Something's wrong with you to be able to go and do some stuff like that.
And to use the funds for really things that are not emergency response. I mean, we suffered through Harvey. The whole Harris County, I mean, it was devastating for the area. And really what that loophole was meant to do was when you're dealing with emergency response, you're dealing with recovery. How do you pick up massive trash like we saw across the county after Harvey? Those sort of things, paying for the extra security because you've got to protect your businesses, you've got to protect your homes when there's no electricity. Those are the issues, and that's what it was really meant to be for. But they took advantage of it, and under the guise of Barrel, and we're paying for it. And now she wants to raise property taxes, i.e. Lena Hidalgo, again.
Okay, how many precincts are there in Harris County?
4.
So is it 4 commissioners plus Lena Hidalgo, the county judge?
Yes.
Okay, please name each county commissioner along with their party.
So you've got Precinct 1, which is sort of the center of Harris County. That's Rodney Ellis, Democrat. Then you've got Precinct 2, which is Adrian Garcia's precinct, a Democrat, and that's the one that Richard is running for. You've got Precinct 3 on the north side, which is Tom Ramsey, and that's the strong Republican precinct. And then you got precinct 4, this area of town, which is Leslie Briones,
A
which is
Democrat.
a Democrat. And then Lena Hidalgo's a Democrat.
So you had Leslie Briones, Lena Hidalgo, Rodney Ellis, and Adrian Garcia vote to raise tax. They used the Hurricane Barrel as an excuse while people were hurting in Hurricane Barrel when they were going to try to buy bread on the shelf. They raised taxes on them by as much as 18%.
Yeah.
During Biden's economics. So just, I mean, come on.
So they raise these taxes, and then the what Tom Ramsey the thing that Tom Ramsey continues to say is that we do not have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem.
Yes.
Okay, what does he mean by that?
Well, he means their priorities. They've spent like drunken sailors. Of course, I've never known a drunken sailor, but that's what I've heard.
They exist.
Yeah. But, the idea is they're supposed to be prioritizing paying for infrastructure, emergency response, safety of the community. Those are the priorities for the county government. But you've got Lena wanting to pay for early education, pre-K programs. They gave huge raises. And when they came into office back in 2018, what they did when they had control of the commissioners' court, they took power away from the commissioners and put it into a county administrator. They did the same thing, remember, with the elections.
Okay, if we can just slow down, repeat that one more time, please. They took the money, Siegel, where'd they take the money from?
The commissioners, each commissioner had a budget. They ran their own precinct. They took responsibilities, people away, budget away, and consolidated it and put it under Lena. So you've got a county administrator, which we didn't have before. They did the same thing.
Okay, but real quick, the county administration, they've created a new county administration department that is $25 million alone.
Yeah.
I know that number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25 million. So for from the day that Harris County was started until now, we did not need this office. Now these county commissioners who can't hold on to a dollar create a $25 million administration department to do what
they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then they did the same thing with the elections.
And then what they do is, I read this on Tom Ramsey's wall, what they do to cite the success of it is they talk about this department being run in cities like Chicago. They don't talk about Harris County. They say, oh, up in Chicago, it runs great.
Well, yeah.
And I
watch the news in Chicago.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about safety.
But the point is that they don't say that it runs great in Harris County.
Yeah.
And then they fought for years. They didn't want to give the constables, they didn't want pay equity for the constables. They didn't want to pay for the constables. They didn't want to give our former DA, they didn't want to give her additional funds to hire additional prosecutors. And then you've got the county jail, which I've been fortunate not to have to go there, but I've been told it's like a third world country. Their priorities are totally skewed, Chris. I mean, they're spending it on things that
I don't think it's priorities. I think it's criminal. I think it's criminal minds with criminal intent.
Yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, you vote in these commissioners as 4 years. What they've done is, let's just take it back 4 years. $25 million, that's $100 million that is spent so they don't have to work. Second thing is, you talked about the Harris County jails. You got to remember now, we're taking inmates and we're sending them to Louisiana, so we're having to pay for that funding as well because we're not able to keep enough inmates inside. And then
I think that number is
that,
$56 million over 4 years.
Or 4 years. So let's just say $160 million of wasteful spending just on the administrator and then sending people into Louisiana. And then think about all the deaths that have occurred inside of our county jails. No, they're not doing anything about that. They're not saying anything about that. They're not talking about all the criminal stuff that's going on our streets. They're not talking about youth violence being over 100%. And all these programs, these pet programs and everything else that they've created and dumped money into, they've done zero for our youth violence.
So are the people of Harris County still Democrat-centric, or are they sort of like reconsidering their foundations?
it's changing. It's definitely changing.
Oh,
And Precinct 2, the party, based upon our analysis, we think it's definitely flippable. I think people are recognizing that there isn't good governance. It used to be, as you said in your opening remarks, it was a well-run county. But in recent years, under the Democrats, they've moved away from really what their responsibility is. Where are the flood bond money that, do we have our projects done that was passed by the voters back in 2018? I mean, we're one major hurricane away from actually having another Harvey. What happens to Harris County then? They use COVID money that the federal government gave. They use COVID money that was supposed to go towards things like emergency response, plugging the holes of what really is their normal operations. They used it to start new programs like Lena's Pet Projects with pre-K kids. And now that money's run out, and they're wanting to go back to the taxpayer to continue these pet projects. So there definitely is a spending problem, and they haven't spent the funds on the things that are really their responsibility, the safety of our neighborhoods. Government's supposed to be health, safety, and welfare. Welfare is sort of an ambiguous term, but health and safety of the community, I think that's pretty clear.
Okay, so they raised it by 18%, and they are still expected to have a $200 million deficit. Is that correct?
That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay. Okay, so let's talk about some more absurdities. Let's talk about the sponsorship of the gay softball series. What is it, the Gay Softball World Series or something like that? Mm-hmm. Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, so the so-called county commissioner, Adrian Garcia, decided to put on the agenda to give away almost $500,000 to donate. He's donating this money to this softball World Series game, to the Gay Softball World Series, giving away money that shouldn't be given away. My question to him or to the commissioner court is on this. It's just pretty simple. How many police officers could we put on the street with that money? Secondly, if we didn't want to hire a police officer and create a salary, what type of equipment could we apply to police officers to better fit them? Because if we were to ask police officers, do you have the necessity equipment to be able to do your job in any circumstance on the street? Their answer is going to be no. If we go and ask our police officers, are you prepared for riot gear? Do you have enough to protect our communities? I mean, we see all the stuff that happened when BLM came around. Are our communities safe if something like this arises? And the answer is no, but we're going to give it away to a softball game? I mean, come on.
So they nickel and dime us, but instead of nickeling and diming us, it's $100 million here, it's $1 million there. It all adds up to a $200 million plus deficit. So it's definitely a spending problem because the Democrats, I believe strongly, are using this as a way to buy votes from people. Because remember, what was it, last year or year before, when they wanted to do the guaranteed income for a certain number of people? They got shot down on that. But they're using our tax dollars to go towards their little pet projects and hefty salaries versus going towards projects, services that benefit all citizens of Harris County.
Mm-hmm. So one more example I pulled from Tom Ramsey's Twitter page regarding the budget is he put this tweet up, or this meme up, and it says the facts. Last year, you were taxed $200 million for 2024 disaster recovery. However, only $20 million was used for disaster recovery. And then he essentially asks the question, he says the remaining funds, general fund. What can you, right there's $180 million that's unaccounted for.
He's asked where that money's gone for. He's asked, the flood bonds that we approve. This county government, and I'm an accountant, this county government is the least transparent that I have ever seen. I've talked with Commissioner Ramsey. When our elected commissioner can't get transparency, can't get information from the county administrator, we've got a problem. Where is the money? Where did it go for? You look at their agenda, and when they're putting forth budget items and budget changes, you can never figure out where the money's going. And there's no transparency, there's no accountability. They're giving money for their pet projects. They're getting, they hand out contracts like what we've talked about to people that'll donate to their campaign. It comes down to it's about power. They want to stay in power. They want to control the county. They want to mold it to their socialist, leftist-leaning policies. And that's not good for Harris County on the short term as well as the long term.
So can't the state step in when you have that much money unaccounted for? I mean, that's grand robbery, right? I would think that the state legislature should be able to pass law, if it doesn't already exist, laws that allows the attorney general to come in here and sick his attack dogs on these commissioners and find out where this money's at with criminal prosecution as a potentiality.
You would think that would happen, but remember our state legislature meets every 2 years. It's all about getting the votes. And I will tell you the Senate's very conservative, but in our delegation, which is primarily the Republican delegation, part of the delegation, really puts forward good, strong, conservative legislation, but they can't get it through the House. And that's extremely frustrating. I'm sure, Richard, you've dealt with it. I dealt with it the last legislative session, trying to get good election laws in place. And it's extremely difficult getting things through the House.
I want to take a quick moment to save the day with legislation. Is there any talk of legislation coming in that would stop this reign of lawlessness in Harris County?
Well, I think you see every session they continue to chip away and try to control. And this legislative session was probably the most conservative we've had in recent years. They've passed great legislation. But, it's a very short period of time. It's once every 2 years, even though the governor has been calling special sessions. And they have gotten really great legislation. But, for example, and we were talking about that, the Toll Road Authority. It'd be great to address the fact that these toll roads that we all thought would eventually be paid, the bonds to pay would be paid off, and then we would quit having to pay tolls on it. Instead, the county is just raking in the dough, and it's another thing that they're not accountable for. But part of it is just there's so much for the state of Texas in terms of business. It's hard to, I think, get everything done on the priority list.
I mean, that's a pretty one. That's a pretty big one when you have a county government that's not giving.
Well, they've stepped in. They try to step in. I mean, they did on the elections. Remember back in 22 when we had they ran out of paper in Republican polls. They came and returned the elections back for Harris County to the county clerk, who was elected, a Democrat elected, and took it away from their county election administrator. So they have responded, and they're paying close attention to what goes on in Harris County.
Okay, real quick, on the toll roads, the toll roads are, how much are the revenues in the toll roads, and is there any transparency on where those funds are?
There's no transparency. What's
Zero.
their figure? I mean,
over
hundreds
$1
of
billion.
million. Yeah.
Over $1 billion, and there's zero transparency. So you have $1 billion of revenue coming in. What's going on with it? Look, here's the thing. The city of Houston complains, right? Mayor Whitmire complains that when there's an accident on the Beltway, Houston responds, right? If it's within the Houston limits, but Houston has to pick up that. But yet the county, this commissioner's court, decides to hold this revenue, and what are they doing with it? It's generating all this funding. What is it going to? What are we providing for our people? And they won't show it.
How can they not show it? I mean, every public company in existence is required to report their financials annually. Mm-hmm. How can they not show that? I don't know how that's possible.
Because I think they're corrupt.
Man.
I mean,
yeah, but I'm saying that I would think that the law requires them to show it.
Well, I mean, they do audits, they do all that, but I'm a CPA. I can't even figure out. I mean, the bigger the government is, Chris, the easier it is for stuff like this to go on. And if you've got the county judge and 3 Democrat county commissioners that control everything, they get by with whatever they want and wherever they want to spend it. And the control is it's up to the voters to vote them out of office. Let's restore common sense, good business practices, transparency with our county government. Let's go back to being one of the best run county governments in the country, because we're not right now. And we're the 3rd largest county in the country, almost the 2nd largest county. And, it's going to impact all of us. It's not just Houston or where I live in Bel Air or where Richard lives. It's all of us. If the county doesn't have good governance, it impacts where, Houston's not going to isolate you.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's talk about the flood bonds. What year were the flood bonds voted on?
18.
Right? Yeah.
In response to Harvey. Okay, so we are 7 years from that, and they were $1 billion, possibly a multi-billion-dollar flood bond.
Yeah, I think $3 to $5 billion at the end of the day.
$3 to $5 billion.
And I think that there was some federal dollars in, but they were trying to stretch again those dollars as much as they could. And the priority was that the money would be spent on flood control projects where it would serve the areas. I mean, there are areas in Harris County that flood in just a light rainstorm. So it would go, you'd get the biggest bang for the buck. It would go to serve the greatest number of people. And they came in and they totally redid where the money was going. And they basically just said, we're going to divide it into 4 versus attacking the areas where it floods the most.
So it was sort of based on priority, based on the priority of which neighborhoods should receive it. They should get the funding first, get them safe and out of harm's way, and then the county commissioners just redrew the plan and said, no, we're just going to divide the money into 4.
Yep.
And they took and then they removed that entire criteria of needs based. Correct.
Correct. Spend how you want to. And now we're in a shortfall of over $1 billion.
But in doing so, it puts them in the driver's seat, not the needs of the citizen. Now the county commissioners get to pick who and which, and it makes them little chiefs.
It's fiefdoms, and they're able, because these construction companies, I mean, it's big dollars for them. They're able to sit there and, basically. Hopefully they want those big construction companies to contribute to their campaigns. I mean, again, it's corrupt. It's not, it should be going, these are our dollars, our taxpayer dollars are going to pay off those bonds. I mean, it's debt for the county. It should go to where we improve the greatest, the flooding in the greatest areas, and the ones with the greatest need. Because again, you have another Hurricane Harvey hit, it hurts all of us. And the fact is, if we can spend money on, remember how those homes out west, how they flooded. You've had up in Kingwood has flooded. I live in Bel Air. It always floods. I mean, over probably 85% of the Bel Air homes are in the flood control. We're all at risk. And if we're not doing serious projects that will improve flooding and flood control across the entire county, it impacts all of us. You may not live in an area that floods, but I can guarantee if a storm comes in, sits on where you're living, or goes upstream, all of a sudden that water is coming to you. It's a huge problem, and it's devastating, and it takes people years and years. So I'm going to use Bel Air as an example. I had friends who lived in a home and was built in the 90s. They lived next to the railroad track. It flooded in Allison. It flooded in the Tax Day flood. It flooded in the Memorial Day flood. Harvey comes along, it floods again, and their home, all 4 times. He finally just said, enough's enough, and he sold it for lot value and left. He said, I just can't deal with that again. That's ridiculous. And the county should be doing more. It shouldn't just be left up to the property owners or small cities like Bel Air. The county, that is one of their responsibilities.
Absolutely.
Okay, so they were given $5 to $6 billion worth of money, which should fortify this city beyond. The voters did the right thing. They gave these county commissioners everything that they needed to fortify this city from any threat of a storm. And of that $5 to $6 billion, as I understand it, only a small percentage of the projects over the course of 7 years, only a small percentage of the projects have been completed.
Yep.
And it's my understanding, and again, it's from listening to Commissioner Ramsey, and he's asking, where's the projects?
A sitting commissioner's asking, where's the money?
So,
Come on.
But the fact is, if you don't get your act together, you have to get the projects designed. You have to let hire the construction company. You've got to issue the bonds. So the longer you delay that, prices are going up. So
Yep.
Even in a perfect world, you can end up not having enough money. It's like you remodeling your house. If you remodel your house in 60 days, that's one thing. But if you take 6 years to remodel your house, chances are it's going to cost you a lot more money.
Yeah.
I mean, these people cannot tie their own shoes. The minute that they took the money and then they changed the entire way of which basis on which it would be spent, they completely screwed the projects right there.
Absolutely. And now we're in a shortfall.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about Adrian Garcia. Adrian Garcia, one of these Democrats that's in County Commissioner Precinct 2. So tell us about him. Tell us about your potential opponent in this coming race.
Well, currently he's not the county commissioner.
Right.
So that's why I keep saying the so-called, because he took a position on the Gulf Coast Protection District, which means he vacated the seat at County Commissioner's Court. And the judge is supposed to appoint somebody there. This is why I filed a lawsuit. It's out of district court. And tomorrow morning it's going to be filed in the Texas Appeals Court. We're not backing down. We're going on offense, and we want to do what's right by the people. But Adrian decided to take this position. He's able to hand out contracts on both sides of the fence.
Okay, can I say real quick?
Go ahead.
From the beginning, Adrian Garcia was our County Commissioner Precinct 2, and then he accepted another position, correct?
Yes.
What was that position?
A commissioner on Gulf Coast Protection District.
Okay, so then he accepted a second position as a commissioner on Gulf Coast Protection. So he's got 2 jobs right now. And as county commissioner, the minute that you accept another position like that, you forfeit your job as county commissioner, correct?
Correct.
But the Democrats don't want that to happen, so they break the law. And what they do is they allow him to keep his county commissioner spot as well as this new position. And the way I frame it is like this. It's like, for example, you make the dumb decision to quit your job. You go to bed at night, you realize, oh my goodness, I just quit my job. You show up the next day, with your lunch pail and ready to go back to work, and you realize that that you lost your job. Your job's gone. The ship has sailed. But in the Democrats' world, all rules are broken for the Democrats. So this guy is now trying to keep his county commissioner seat when he actually forfeited it.
Correct.
Okay.
And he's putting things on the agenda. He's handing out contracts. I mean, all of this is against the law. I mean, how do you have somebody he's just a regular citizen at this point. You have a regular citizen sitting in a seat handing out county money that the voters aren't agreeing to. The judge hasn't appointed anybody in that seat.
Okay, real quick. What is the legal status of his county commissioner right now? Because you say that you're suing or something like that. Is he technically able to give out money and perform as the role of the county? Is he allowed to?
No.
Is he doing it?
Yes.
He's doing it illegally.
Yeah. Yes.
And what are the legal remedies to that? What legal actions being taken to correct this?
Well, we filed the lawsuit. So it's going to go to the Texas Appeal Court and go up to the Texas Supreme Court. And then we're asking the governor to give us a special election.
Okay, so right now you filed this lawsuit. It's going to the Texas Appeals Court. Are you confident that they will rule in your favor?
Yes.
And then it would go to which court? Supreme
The
Court.
Supreme Court.
And you're confident they will rule in your favor?
Yes.
and then the governor does what needs to be done.
Correct.
How long will that whole process take?
Well, we're hoping in the next 60 days, but it's the courts. But we're hoping we can either get on the ballot in November, if not March.
Okay, so let's say 60 to 75 days, and then there'd be a special election, and he may be the candidate, or would he be the candidate or not?
He can still be the candidate. He can still apply and be the candidate.
But what they do is they want to run the clock out.
Mm-hmm.
This has happened. What was it? 2 years ago that this happened. So they run the clock out by appealing instead of dealing with everything legally. They run the clock out, and so then you get to, because they've done it with the election challenges we have. So then what happens? They go, well, his term's up anyway. So, and he's running.
He's running again.
So
But
it's a moot point.
Yep.
Okay, but the only thing I'd say about running the clock out is I only had that used against me one time in the court of law, and it was only because of Hurricane Harvey, I believe. Or no, it was because of COVID. Because COVID made our world such a mad wreck that they actually used it effectively to wear me out. And then they scheduled my court date right around Christmas, and I had to just settle outside of court. I wasn't going to do it over my Christmas break. But every other time, I've never seen them be able to successfully actually implement that. Or do you think they're going to be able to pull that off, or do you think the court date's nearing?
I mean, Richard's got a great attorney. I will tell you that. But the fact is, we're already two years into it.
Mm-hmm.
He's up for re-election a year from this November.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll be on the primary ballot for the Democrats if he runs for this spot again. So, they just keep playing the legal games.
It's possible that they run the clock out.
They've done the same thing. Christian Menefee, the county attorney, he effectively, when he said he was going to run for Congressional District 18 when Turner passed away, he resigned. I mean, by declaring that he was running for another position, the law is such that he's effectively is resigning. But you know what the county commissioners court did? They said, well, we're appointing him to continue to be the county attorney.
Are they allowed to do that?
They're doing it.
I mean,
It's
it's one of those things.
It's a kangaroo court now. They can do what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they want Christian Menefee in that position because they're all criminals, and they don't want a real county attorney to get in there and start asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the county attorney should be there to guide the commissioners, make sure that they're following the law. Instead, he's working in tandem with the Democrats and doing whatever he can to support their position.
State of lawlessness in Harris County. Something has to be done about this. Getting back to Adrian Garcia. Okay, so let's talk about his work with the police. He presents himself as a supporter of the police. Is that true?
Yes.
Is he a supporter of the police?
No.
Okay, tell us what his
Not at
past
all.
is dealing with the police.
Well, let's just look. When was the last time he was ever endorsed by the police? He thinks we forgot. He wants to come over and act like he's for raising police salary. He's for public safety. His track record is very clear. He number one, he wanted to disband the constables and place them under the sheriffs. He wanted all the constables started going up there and testifying at commissioner's court. Second thing is he took the rollover budget from Jerry Garcia, Precinct 2 constable. He took $600,000, and his response was that you should have spent it. That's what I did when I was a sheriff.
Okay, real quick, could you say the first thing he did again? He wanted say the first thing. You're going to apologize.
Yeah. So he wanted to disband all the constables. So what he did was he did an audit to see their performance, and he wanted to be able to start basically seeing where the money is and start disband all the different constable precincts, and then start moving them under all the sheriffs. And so that
He wanted
more
to
sheriffs.
so
each
just
constable,
for the record, so people know, constables operate independently of the sheriff's office.
correct,
And they're elected.
And they're
They're
elected
elected.
officials.
yeah.
And he wanted to disband the constables' offices and put them under the county sheriff?
Yep.
Okay. Is that legal?
Well, I don't know if it's legal, but we don't stand for it, right? We love our constables, and we love our sheriffs.
Yeah, right.
Right. So that's why we partnered with the constables on this, right? Because listen, in my community, HPD is overwhelmed. The HPD they need another 5,000 police officers, right? Our constables serve our community very well, right? And so what I'll just say is they have done an amazing job, right? I have 8 and 2 within the area that I live in, and they've done remarkable. So to try to say we're going to disband them and put them on the sheriffs so you can be in control, because see, Adrian is really more in control over that sheriff's department. And so, but he couldn't. It removes their election status, because you got to remember they're elected, and they can kind of do what they want to do.
That would require a vote for him to do that.
Well, you would think, but he wanted to move and just do whatever he wanted to do. And so now he's coming back and saying, "Oh, well, I'm for law enforcement. I've always wanted to give him a pay raise." No, buddy.
Okay, how does he have control over the sheriff's office? The sheriff's independently elected.
Well, he's got the votes on county commissioners.
Yeah.
They all work in tandem. They didn't want to give the constables a pay raise. They didn't want to give equity in terms of compared to like Houston, for example. And then this idea of disbanding it, people need to understand those constables, like Richard said, they supplement what like the Houston Police Department has. They also cover the unincorporated area. And the unincorporated area, what did Ed Emmett always say, it would make us, if it was its own city, would be like the 5th largest city in the country. I mean, it's huge. And those constables are handling those areas. They're there to support law enforcement across the county.
For years, the constables wasn't looked at like a normal law enforcement. They were just as civil, right? They would just go and serve papers. But as far as my interaction with them over I would say the last decade, and they've probably been doing this longer, they do a lot of the law enforcement work. I mean, they're doing raids, they're patrolling, they're making big arrests. They're doing everything that they're supposed to do. And I'll just tell you, man, I love my constables. We partner with our constables in our church to be able to serve our community. And it just really disheartened me that he would take that position.
I mean, this is insane that he would try to do that, disband them and then centralize them. Democrats always want to centralize control because a table that's on one leg is easier to push over than a table that's on 4 legs.
Absolutely.
So they can control it, they can manipulate it. They're corrupt at their heart, so they can find ways to profit from it potentially. Okay, so he wanted. So that was he would defund the constables.
Well, he did. He took. You got to remember, he froze and took over $600,000 from Jerry Garcia, because he was saving that money to be able to buy his police officers updated equipment and to be able to help provide for more officers.
Garcia was.
Who's Jerry Garcia?
Jerry Garcia is the constable of Precinct 2. Okay, so
Jerry Garcia, the constable of Precinct 2, had saved up $600,000 to be used for everything necessary for the job as a police officer.
Correct. And the so-called county commissioner, Adrian Garcia, decided to take that money from him, penalize him, and say, you should have spent that money. He wanted to put it in his general fund so he could put that money where he wanted it to go.
Another gay softball game.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But of course the constables went up there and they spoke up and they, it's wrong. It's wrong.
Yeah, the Democrats don't like light on them. Criminals like to operate in the dark.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing: Jerry Garcia is a Democrat, but you know what? He has the strength of the people in his community, and he works hard for his community. And Adrian didn't like that.
Mm-hmm.
Control and power.
Okay, speaking of control and power, let's talk about Jacob Engineering, which gave a sizable donation to Adrian Garcia and made a heck of a return on that investment. Let's talk. What happened there?
Yeah, so Jacob Engineering gave a $10,000 donation to Adrian Garcia, and then a few months later, Adrian turned around and gave, I think it was $2.9 million contract to them.
Did Lena Holdago say something about contracts and how these people should be scratching their backs or something like that?
Yeah, she did, and I just want to thank the judge. Keep doing a good job.
Judge Lena Hidalgo.
Yeah. You know,
Big tongue in cheek on that one.
she's I tell you, and I have to agree with everybody. You know, we know that she's acted out unprofessionally, but a lot of things that she's saying, I'm starting to say, you know what, she might be onto something. You know, she tweeted out in August how her and Adrian partnered together to redistrict our county in favor of them, and how they created this contractor war chest. You know, when you say those words, that means that you have allowed vendors pay to play. You're forcing vendors in our county to give directly to your political campaign in order to get contracts within our county. She blatantly said this.
Okay, she said we were say it again one more time. What did you say?
She said we redistrict the maps in favor for these Democrats and created contractors war
Okay,
chest.
so let me explain that. They cut up the lines to redistrict it to make it a Democrat slanted election slate, right? So that the Democrats are almost certainly going to win. And what they do is they dilute and water down conservative areas, and then they in other areas they make them heavy concentrated Democrats. So always the Democrats win in perpetuity, no matter what kind of activism you do day in, day out. Democrats are safe, and in doing so, now the contractors have to fund their war chest, because why would they put any money in the Republicans' war chest? Because they're not going to win. So now we put the money in their war chest, and the Democrats get rich and powerful. And Lena Hidalgo literally came out and said this.
She tweeted it. It out.
And she's ticked because, understand, Leslie Briones, Adrian Garcia are up for re-election. Mm-hmm. And she was pushing her pet project. She was pushing a tax rate increase. And she put out there, I mean, she said it at the meeting, she's saying that these Democrat commissioners are now controlled by the GOP. And she's reminding them that, hey, right before you got elected, because we did have a 3-2 controlled Democrat commissioners court, they redistricted and they watered down the Republican ones. So now all we have is one precinct, Tom Ramsey's, which is a strong Republican. They made it so it's a 4-1.
In perpetuity. It was a 3-2, 3 Democrat, 2 Republican. A strong position for the Republicans, not as strong as it should be, but good enough. And they made it so it's 4-1. So forever, Tom Ramsey is surrounded and voted out.
And so he just sits there with his sole vote. And they, she was reminding them, I mean, basically, you owe us, you owe her and Rodney, that we voted for this change in the redistricting, and you got elected because we gave you districts that you could win in, and now you're not supporting my pet project.
Did she take the tweet down?
No. Well, I don't know. Of course, I screenshotted it as quick as possible. I'm grateful she put it out. I mean, we all know what was happening, but that she's confirmation. And here's the thing: she's blaming Adrian for the shortfall of $200 million. I'm starting to believe her, because he turns around and puts on the agenda to give away almost $500,000 to a gay softball tournament. So, I mean, is she saying truth? I'm starting to believe what she's saying.
Adrian Garcia is the reason that the gay softball tournament in Houston is happening?
Well, I don't know. Well, yeah, I mean, he's funding it.
Yeah.
Here's the position that he took. He said the state once supported it. And here's what I'll say. The state's not in a $200 million deficit.
Right.
We are. And to give away $500,000, I mean, I don't, there's probably a ton of nonprofits in our county that could use that money to benefit the people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, guys, so to finish up here, is there any important dates coming up that we need to know about? Voting dates or anything of that sort?
None that I can think of. Just our lawsuit. Hey, just stay looking out for our lawsuits, and we'll just stay working. And
How do we learn more about you and your campaign?
Yeah, go to richardvega.us, richardvega.us.
Okay, great. And any final words?
So this November, there's several nonpartisan races, cities, not Houston, but small cities as well as school board races. There will be constitutional amendments, which will include bail reform on the ballot. And we want safe neighborhoods. We want our judges their feet to be held to the fire and quit just releasing criminals out onto the street. Then in March next year, both parties will have their primaries. The Harris County Republican Party has great candidates like Richard running. We've got great candidates running for county judge, and we are working really hard for the November 2026 election because we believe that we can make Harris County red again.
Great. I think it's very possible, too. Seth Keshel, former military intelligence, said that in 2020, Trump turned Harris County pink if the true vote had come through. So I do agree. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for your time. I do appreciate it. And this is Chris Heasley with the Chris Heasley Radio Show. And we will be back 1 week from Saturday with one more hot topic. Have a great week.